Hi, my viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. This is Motun Talks, a platform where we give God praise, we glorify the name of the Lord, we share life experience, testimonies, and we bring people here on the platform to come and talk to us on valuable information, to give us tips on things that we know that will be beneficial to everyone or somebody out there. So today I'm having a very special guest in our midst that has come to share testimony with us and also give us an insight. And I will be introducing her. She will be introducing herself by the time it's time. But before we always it's always our norm and our custom that I try to remind every of my viewers that we are still building this community, and you can be part of it by helping to like, share, comment, and also subscribe to this channel so that it can reach as many people as possible that will benefit from every of our topic or every of the topic for the day. So today I have a very special friend, a very special sister in our midst. She's one of the many other people that I've journeyed with for the past few years of my life, and have made great impacts in my life. She has really, really tremendously impacted me in a very positive way. And she has a testimony for us, and that is why I felt, okay, I can bring her to my channel to actually talk to us. And she's no other person than my own Dr. Ayodele Adiat. She's going to be taking us through a singleness journey, even through why she got married. And I believe that even from her testimony and from all the discussion we are going to have today, you will be blessed in the name of God. So, Doctor, please, can you kindly introduce yourself? Can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Okay, all right. So thank you for having me on this platform. And I think it's a great opportunity to share what God has done in my life. And hopefully one or two things I say might be useful or beneficial to people who are watching us today. So like Motun said, my name is Ayo. I'm 35 years old. I work as a doctor in the United Kingdom. And I've been married for maybe just under 2 years. So in a sense, my singleness to marriage journey is still quite fresh, and I hope still quite relevant to a number of our brothers and sisters who are in that phase at this time of their life. So that's briefly me in a nutshell.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So that's Dr. Ayodele Adiat. She's very close to me. So Dr. Ayodele, you mentioned that you're 35 years old right now. And I knew that, so from what you just said, based on calculation, you married around when you were 33 years old. So can you take us through your journey, those waiting period of you? I'm sure when you were growing up, you might have a stipulated age that you wanted to get married, and I don't know. So can you just take us through how that, the brief history of what you wanted and what turns out, and at the end, so just give us a tip of, a brief history of how you went through your singleness journey.
Right. Okay, so that's an interesting one. In all honesty, I wasn't one of those people who grew up, thinking I will marry when I'm 25. If I'm honest, I didn't. And mainly because I think I was raised in a family where the girls were sort of encouraged to aspire to careers, and careers take time to build. So essentially, if you're going to pursue a career, go to university in Nigeria, with all of its challenges, I didn't really envisage myself marrying particularly early. But in all honesty, I think psychologically, even without pinpointing it, I felt, one way or the other, before I'm 30, I'll definitely be married, So not like it was a strategy or a plan, but it's just something that it just sits somewhere at the back of your mind. Give or take, by 30, I should be there, But I find that marriage and relationships don't really follow those trajectories. I know, and the thing I must say is that everybody's journey is very different and very personal. You know, God leads all of us in a different way. While we might learn from one another's stories, you know, God leads us as individuals. So I'd say that when marriage first became a priority or something I was thinking about seriously would be when I was about maybe 27 years old. I had completed my tertiary education at that time. I was done with NYSC. I had, a good income, at least for a girl of my age at that time, fair enough income. And I think a lot of the initial goals that I had for myself to at least have a career had already been achieved. So, you are naturally just sort of what you think. A lot of my friends who I went to medical school with at that time were getting married. So you feel, okay, I've done everything. Why not? I meet somebody today. I will go for it. But it's all seasons at that point in time. Just didn't seem to be anybody particularly interesting or I was particularly interested. So there were those periods where you just will not meet anybody or you will not really have any real contenders. And then you have some times when it's almost like everywhere you turn, people are asking for your number. So that does happen. That does happen. I would say the year before, there was a year when at a point in time, within a space of a month, you have 11 people asking for your number. Everywhere you go, people are stopping you. It's a season. But at that time, I wasn't really at the point. I was still focused on my, early career and all of that.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, and then you finish this career and then you get to a point where I'm ready and it just doesn't seem to be anybody coming. And so, but then again, I shifted my attention to new goals. So new professional goals came around, new aspirations, new opportunities also presented themselves. So I had the opportunity to go and study for a master's degree abroad, which wasn't something I would say I wanted to achieve before marriage. But when that opportunity presented itself, I went for it and it was a very rewarding one. And then while I was studying as well, I'd achieved that. And then again, the whole marriage question came in. And I started to think, I really want to meet people. I want to go out. And this was my first time living, because the master's degree was outside of Nigeria. So this was my first time living abroad. So and then that environment, you're exposed to a lot of young people. So you meet people in the course of your day-to-day work. I was very active in the church as well that I was attending. So I met a number of people at that point. And that was also because I was in a foreign culture as well. I became exposed to things like online dating at that point in time, and I got really interested in that, So at that time, so I would say then, I was living on a student budget and I was trying to do the best I could with it. So, you save, you work, you go out and, and I really, really enjoyed it.
I can relate. I can relate to that.
And I think that was the first time, that I really, got involved in online dating. I was on a platform called eHarmony. And, I did research a lot, which is something I must say that before you get involved in online dating, you do need to research it very well because it does have its pitfalls. So you want to be on a safe platform, meet people in the open, not in your own house or in your own flat, public places during the daytime. And I did meet, and then I'm a Christian and I don't believe, and so I'm not interested, in all honesty, my settings will not even introduce me to anybody who doesn't have Christian on their profile. So I think for me, that was the biggest filter because I know at that time I was looking into marriage. So if a person is not a Christian, I'm honestly not an equal opportunity dater. I honestly will not regard, will not consider fairly someone who doesn't share my faith in Christ. So that's the basic. I'm not too particular about denomination that a person comes from. The person believes in Christ and is a practicing Christian. That is the baseline for me. And so even my settings online will not accommodate anybody. So from there, I met a lot of good Christian men, I have to be honest. But, a man might be a good Christian man, but may not necessarily be for you, And then through that journey, I actually did meet someone that I eventually, built quite an interesting relationship with. Even though, unfortunately, that didn't end in marriage, but it was one of the enriching experiences of my life at that time. Okay, and maybe I might talk a bit more about that relationship as we go on. So yeah, that was my journey. But I think after the master's, life continued. There were a few other possibilities that didn't really quite work out. But I think the turning point for me came at the beginning of 2018.
And how old were you then? How old were you then?
At the beginning of 2018, I think I'd done my 32nd birthday.
Okay.
I was 32. So essentially I'd missed my 30-year-old.
Your 30 targets, yeah.
And I think in retrospect, I feel that, 29 is quite a difficult age to be, or was quite a difficult age to be, because subconsciously I pressured myself that I'm almost 30 psychologically. And so I said yes to things at that time that I probably, got engaged at that time, probably a bit prematurely, because psychologically that 30-year deadline was there. In retrospect, I'm grateful to God that, that didn't work out at that time, because I put myself under undue pressure to achieve something that may not necessarily have been God's best for me, or that clearly wasn't God's best for me at the time. Okay, so I'll say the turning point was when, I got to 33, the age of 32. And I'll say I'll just set the scene for what happened in that year. I think 2017, which was the year preceding, had been a very, very good year for me professionally. I achieved even things that I didn't imagine to achieve professionally. I was in a good place financially, and I came to that realization that, there's no amount of professional or career success that I will achieve in 2018 that will make me as happy and fulfilled as being married. And I think this is one thing that, I find happens even among some of my friends. That's almost an embarrassment to acknowledge to yourself that your priority is marriage. Almost as if it's nice for a woman to say, I want to achieve my big financial goals. I want to achieve my big professional goals. But it's almost like there's a stigma to say, I want this year, my goal is to
get married.
So it's almost like, is that an achievement? But honestly, I think the first thing is just the way you don't need anybody's permission to aspire to save 1 million. I mean, there was a year, 2012, when my goal was, I want to save 1 million naira. I didn't take anybody's permission before achieving that goal. There was a year when my goal was, 2016, my goal was, I want to get a job internationally. I didn't allow embarrassment to stop me from pursuing that goal. So 2018, my goal was to be married, to meet somebody and marry. And I won't allow anybody to make me feel ashamed or embarrassed about that goal. And I think that's the first thing, not to see your desire to be married, to have a relationship as an inferior goal. It is a goal. And if that's your heart desire and you present it to God, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So that's the first thing. So I think 2018 was that turning point for me. And there's no career success that will make me as fulfilled this 2018 as being married. And then the next thing was to go to God. I've been like I said, I've been praying and really fasting and going to programs and events and conferences for ladies. Believing God. I've been going for that since I was 27, which is very cool.
That's over 6 years now. That's about 6 years.
About 4 years. I've been doing that for 4 years. Special prayer for marriage and marital breakthrough. I've been going, and each time you go, your faith go. Your hopes are raised. You're very expectant, and when nothing comes out of it, but you still push yourself and go again. So it does take its toll emotionally, and I just have to go back to God, because at the end of the day, God is the beginning and the end. And the scriptures that I held on to in going back to God that year was it was in Proverbs 19:14. It says, houses and riches are the inheritance of fathers, but a prudent spouse comes from God. So essentially, I know that God is a kind father. And I tell myself, I think of my own earthly father, with whom I had quite a good relationship. And my father was very, very generous. And I think to myself, if giving husband is in the power of my earthly father, honestly, I would not even need to pray and fast. He will give it to me. You understand? Because I know he loves me. But I know that my heavenly father is a much better father than my earthly father. And if I don't doubt the love of my earthly father, why will I doubt the love of God? You understand? And that was one of the things I went to. And then another thing that changed is, so at that time, when I started to pray, this was January of 2018. I also had, as in our church, I'm a member of the Winners Chapel, and at the beginning of every year, we have a 21-day fast. This was not my first time. This was not my 5th or 6th time fasting. And on all those fasting prayer, marriage was always there. This was not my first time fasting this fast. But this time around, I said, if God only answers one prayer, that's the only prayer that I want it to be. Now, other times when I also pray, I will be praying, God, if it's your will this year, let it come to pass. If it's your will this year, let it come to pass. But I did not come to God in 2018 like, if it is your will. I asked myself, how will I know when it is God's will? And I started searching the scripture, and I came across a verse in Proverbs again, where it was talking about, but I should have jotted it down. But it says that first you should make your work ready out on the outside and prepare a barn for yourself, and then build your house. So essentially, my understanding from that scripture is, if you've prepared the work of your hand, you've built your barn, at least you have something in store, then build your house, or build your home. So I've finished building every financial and career platform I want to build. Now I want to build my home. The season is now, it's not next year. God is not going to be more powerful in 2 years' time than he is today. What I desire is in his hand. And so that was the thing. So that year, 2018, I didn't pray to God, Lord, if it's in your will. I said, Lord, I know it is your will this year. Therefore, this and this. And, I've been fasting this fast. Well, I will read the story. Then again, I also read about, and then the third thing in my prayer. So the first thing was, being specific, that focused time of fasting and prayer. And then the third thing was asking God for specific instruction. So I'm like, God, what am I doing that is wrong? What am I doing that is right? What am I doing? Or what should I now begin to do?
Evaluating yourself and asking way forward, even when this quest. Yeah, okay.
So that was it, like you said, asking the way forward in specific terms now, not not in spiritual terms, in terms of my day-to-day
practical steps to take. Yeah.
And I think this way, then a lot of specific instructions came. A lot of them also came from the story of people like Isaac and Rebecca, how they met. Some instruction came from Esther and how she was chosen by the King Xerxes. So different instructions came from there. But there were some key things. So for instance, now when I asked God, what am I doing wrong, for example? God pointed out some things. That there are an example now we use, which is something I will use as I said, in a sense, when I refer to things like time wasters. Sometimes there are some people that in my heart of hearts, I was wishing that it would be one of these people in my short list. I have to be honest. So
I understand, my sister. I understand. Please go on.
I'm believing God. But in my back of my mind, I have some people on my short list that if
the one you chose yourself, not the one God is choosing for you.
That is it. These are the ones that, by my own human assessment, if this one should just talk today,
I will say yes.
Yeah, I will exploit. So there were those people in the back of my mind and they're on my short list. So the first thing that God has to let me know is that let's go everybody on your short list. You understand? I've not chosen them, full stop. In fact, there was days on another prayer and fasting period where I was like, God, why haven't you chosen this person? I like this person.
So those persons, sorry to cut you short, are they from the dating sites that you went to on a random meeting? Yeah.
No, these were people that, in fact, in actual sense, these people were actually people that I've known for years as friends.
Okay.
These are people who were single, so not somebody else's husband though. So these were people who were single. These are people who already had quite a cordial friendship going on. So they were people that were known to me. Well, quite coincidentally, none of them was from a dating side. They were actually friends that I made over the years. But we had never just transitioned from friendship to anything else. And I just felt at the back of my mind that perhaps one of these ones. So the first thing God said, don't bring any shortlist to me. I have not chosen these people. And I think it's also letting go of those people. Because sometimes, and that's the thing that causes us to waste time sometimes. We're already fond of an idea of a person.
First stage, the kind of man we wanted and stuff.
I wonder, sometimes we see them physically. Sometimes it's a list in our mind or an image, you understand? But sometimes we're so fond of those ideals or those fond of those people or those things they represent. But sometimes that's why we can't hear God. And that's why we can't make progress. So essentially, you have to let go of those things. And for me, I had to let go of those. And I'm like, God, this time around, I'm serious. Your will, Lord, is what I want this time. I let go. please, I let go. I want my own. If these ones are not saying yes to this one's okay. So long, farewell. So that was it. God gave specific instructions, and that was it. And then the next step is, Lord, what things should I do? And then this is where it becomes specific. He says to me that while I'm on online dating, it was just impressed upon me that it's very unlikely that the person is on an online platform. That impression just came to me, that the person is not in an online dating site. Even though I was paying money and I was meeting people on the online site, but that impression is not there. Now the second one was also in terms of specific instruction, he said, now that I should go out, so I should make an effort to go out to enjoy life, you understand, but to also share this when I go out, to take pictures and put those pictures on my Instagram platform.
So God is telling you to, if I get that right, telling you to date yourself, enjoy life. Don't box yourself because of marriage is not coming. Live life, enjoy yourself.
I think one thing I must say is that I think even prior to this time, I was one for going out. I was exploring my curiosity. As far back as even when I first came, to study. So I've always been someone who believes in, going out, enjoying your life, and it's a shame to keep your life on hold, because singleness is a chapter. There are things to enjoy and do while you're single. So don't feel like your life is only going to start after your marriage. Your life, it's a different kind of life that starts after your marriage. As a single person, you can develop skills, you can explore. There's so many things now that I know in retrospect that because I was single, that's why they could come high up. Now that you have a family, now that you have a mortgage to pay, you're constrained, not in a bad way. It's a season of life, but there was a certain, I could move, at age over 30, I could get up and move to another country. It's not so easy to get up now and move to another country that I have, family and other people's career. So there is that flexibility, and I think sometimes, when you're single, you feel it's a currency that will last forevermore. Oh God, and you're like, oh, how am I going to enjoy it? But if you recognize that singleness is a currency that will not last forever, then you want to maximize it and use it to the best of your potential, knowing that view your singleness as currency that would expire. You understand? And so use it judiciously, recognizing that you will not always have that flexibility. You'll not always be able to wake up at the drop of a hat, and get up and go and order something nice for yourself. You also have to, now when I order food, I don't just order, oh gosh, this is what I feel like eating. Now I'm like, okay, so what can this other person eat? What can this other order fact? So honestly, spend your singleness like a currency that would run out, and enjoy it.
So my sister, sorry for drawing you back a bit. The time wasters, as we quote them, do you think there might be something that is, maybe they are actually interested, but something is actually making them draw back? Or what do you think? If a guy is matured, what's delaying a guy to actually ask somebody you like? Or why wasting somebody's time, keeping her time to talk, to do all those things, and at the end of the day, is not making the move? Do you think it would have been, maybe you would have been married if you have taken the first step? Or, biblically, he that finds a wife finds a good thing, right? Do you think if you have taken the step to actually, give them some, would that have worked? Or is it the guys that they would need to be worried about?
I think in all honesty, I think every scenario is different. But remember that in terms of relationships, you don't control the other person's perception. You can't often fully understand a person's reasons. You understand? But what you can control is your own side and your own perception. Now I'll use some scenarios from my own personal experience. Now when I was in my 20s and in university, a university student, then we refer to those kind of attractions as crushes. If I see somebody I like, then it's almost taboo for a lady to approach a guy first. That. When I was younger, then if I see somebody I like, I'm sorry, I'm going to approach you. because the people really, because people had, because people I did have crushes on at that time were quite remarkable people, and at that point, if I see something I like, I'm not waiting for you, because I don't think I was particularly outstanding to look at that point, and so I will go for it, you understand? I go for it and say my mind. A lot of the time, those things are infatuations, they fizzle out, and because for me, that allowed me to, interact and meet a lot of really, really interesting men. And I, now I still remember those memories fondly, because those relationships were not sexual. They were mostly just attraction, fascination. I learned a lot of things from those guys, but they often died a natural and a short death, because the sustaining thing was not really there. But that's when you're much younger and in your 20s. I find that as I grew older, I was more hesitant about approaching a guy when my intention became like marriage on a serious note. Because I find that with women, or my own experience, everybody's different. With women, my experience, I find that what I like is not really the rate limiting step. I find that I can like you so much, but if the man himself does not feel that way, doesn't feel motivated, then all your effort is almost wasted. I feel like, honestly, that initiative that moves it to the next level often has to come from a man. Honestly. So even if you initiate the conversation, if he doesn't genuinely think you match, what he's looking for, and it has nothing to do with you. People have been brought up in so many different ways. Sometimes I think about, some of my more serious relationships that didn't work out. The things that, those people found in me that, really, really put them off and turned out to be the source of contention, quarrel, and even, break up eventually. So, for instance, one of them said, "Oh, you're too independent. You always want to do your own thing. You always have a mind of your own." That person expressed it in that way. And it was a big stumbling block, because he tended to, do, consensus way of life, take advice from his parents and everything before doing. That was the way of their own family. So my own way, where I make my decisions and, stand independently, was very, very off-putting. And that was the origin of our breakup. You understand? But whereas in my current relationship, it's considered as a strength. My husband values that. In fact, that's one of the attractants to him. So sometimes we're trying, when these relationships don't work or people seem to be wasting our time, it's often because we are trying to force a round hole, a round peg into a square hole. Your values and this person's values don't really, really align. There might be things you might have a good time together, but your core values really, really do not align. And
it matters. It matters.
And that's why it doesn't work out. So, and then again, what also causes time wasting is when we don't define
relationship,
what we're expecting from the beginning. Somebody talking to you, they are being extremely friendly. In the early days, before you start investing in emotions into it, it's better to talk. It's better to talk about it, and it's a very unromantic conversation. But especially as I got older, like in the early days, I could just be, getting to know you, can be dating for a long time. But as I got older, like I really want to know what this is about. Because sometimes your expectation is that I see this relationship as we are sizing each other up for the prospect of marriage in the next 6 months. But there somebody's like, oh, this is one of my many good female friends that I'm talking to. So I'm not defining it early and then investing so many emotions, expectations is what, I think as an adult, you won't go into any business agreement without sitting down and looking at the terms and conditions of it. And I think we should be much, much more so with our time, particularly when you feel, I don't have too much time to waste.
Thank you for that. Defining why, what do we expect? Why are we in it? And when or how do we want it to go? It's a very important factor to consider. So when you went and God gave you those specific instructions, you carried them out. So how did your husband find you? Because I'm sure based on your own, what you've said, it's more a guy should, it's he that finds a wife, right? So how will you say your husband actually find you when you were taking all those steps that the Lord laid into your heart?